Rob, talking about X actor and X role kind of situations and stories, there has not been a bigger, hotter topic of conversation when it comes to dream fan casting over the past couple of years than with Fantastic Four. I mean, even before Kevin Feige ever mentioned that they were going to do Fantastic Four, people have been clamoring and saying that what they want is John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as Reed Richards and Sue Storm in Fantastic Four. And this has been the object of a lot of debate, speculation, fan casting, to the point that there have even been reports from Gus's gas station movie reviews.fart that it's confirmed they've already signed up for it and all this kind of stuff. But what's been a lot of people talking about it? Well, apparently that discussion's now over. And apparently it ain't happening because Emily Blunt has just done an interview where not only does she say that, look, I'm not doing Fantastic Four. We've had no discussions about it. I received no phone call, but she went beyond that, Rob, saying two interesting things. One was that she actually doesn't even really like comic book movies. I mean, she loved Iron Man. She to this day, she talks about how she was obsessed with the first Iron Man. She was going to play Black Widow until she had a contractual scheduling conflict with doing that Gulliver's Travels with Jack Black. Remember that? Oh, yep. That was a bad movie. But she was already contractually obligated to that. The schedule conflicted with them shooting her as Black Widow. And so they went to their next choice for Black Widow, which was Scarlett Johansson. And everything worked out fine for everybody. Scarlett Johansson's a great Black Widow. But she loved Iron Man, but she says generally she doesn't even like it. But Rob, she went one step further. And she actually said that she thinks the comic book genre is kind of exhausted right now. She says there's just too many. In other words, she's saying there's an oversaturation of comic book material right now. And hold on to your hats. But she's right. She's right. The market right now is oversaturated with comic book material. We'll talk about that in just a second. Now, let's look and see specifically here what Emily Blunt had to say. In being asked about the Fantastic Four role, she said, "That is fan casting," Blunt said about Fantastic Four casting rumors while on her promotional tour for A Quiet Place Part 2. No one has received a phone call. That's just people saying, wouldn't that be great? Speaking about the superhero genre at large, Blunt added, "It's been exhausted. We are inundated. It's not only all the movies, it's the endless TV shows as well. It's not to say that I'd never want to play one. It would just have to be something so cool and like a really cool character, and then I'd be interested. But I don't know if superhero movies are for me. They're not up my alley. I don't like them. I really don't." All right. Now, first of all, a lot of insecure people are going to want to jump all over her for saying that she doesn't like comic book movies. There's nothing wrong with Emily Blunt or anybody else saying, hey, you know what? It's just not for me. It's just not up my alley. She didn't say comic book movies suck. She didn't say it. She said, you know what? They're not for me. They're not up my alley. I personally don't like them. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I think a bunch of people are going to take issue with the fact that she says, listen, we have been inundated with comic book material, especially when you look at TV. And before we want to start jumping all over her for saying that, can we have the courage for a minute to dare ask the question of, is she right? Is she right? Like, can we stop all the other conversations for just a minute? And let's ask the honest question. When she says that we have now a superhero market that is oversaturated. Now, remember, Rob, oversaturation is not the same as comic book fatigue. She's not saying people are tired of comic book shows and movies. She's not saying that. She's saying we're oversaturated. One can lead to the other, but they're not one and the same. So she's not saying that there's comic book TV show and comic book movie fatigue. She's not saying that. What she's saying is that we've been oversaturated. And when she said that, and I read these comments, Rob, at first I was like, come on. I mean, no, we're not. And then I started thinking in my head, okay, well, we had this show, and we got this show, and 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 this show, holy shit. Emily Blunt's right. We are oversaturated. if you want to see that put into play here, let's just talk about shows from, let's not even go back to Smallville or Automan or, any of those. Animal. Or Greatest American Hero. Let's just talk about the last couple of years. Just the last couple of years, okay? You tell me if Emily Blunt is right that we are oversaturated. Let's just talk about the last couple of years. We'll just go off the top of our head here. Arrow, Flash, obviously Daredevil was great. Staying in the Netflix thing, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. Remember, we're not even talking about multiple seasons. We're just talking about the shows. If we want to talk about the number of seasons, and these are all just from the last couple of years. What else here? Go back to CW. Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Supergirl, Punisher. Forgot that one from the Netflix one. Going over to NBC, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or ABC, I should say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Stay on the Agents, Agent Carter. Let's go Invincible. We've been talking a lot about that recently. Go to my three favorites right now. Umbrella Academy, Doom Patrol, The Boys. What else we got here? Oh, it's just new here now. Superman and
Jupiter's.
Lois.
Did you put down Jupiter's Legacy?
No. That's Jupiter's Legacy. Even just Amazon's. I loved this show. Amazon's The Tick. I thought that was great. The Gifted, that was on Fox. I love that. Gotham, that was just on. Then of course, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Stargirl, Loki. I know Loki hasn't come out yet, but it's about to come out, so we'll include Loki on that.
Sure.
The other smaller stuff, Cloak and Dagger, The Runaways over on Hulu, Krypton. What are some others? I forgot the one Netflix one, The Defenders. Am I missing, guys? Am I missing any? Oh, Swamp Thing. You guys, thank you. You guys in the live chat.
Did you have Titans? Did you put down Titans?
I didn't. Titans. Watchmen. Somebody who said that in the live chat. Steph just said, Watchmen is one that I missed. What else? Did I put Legion? I thought I put Legion. I thought I said Legion. I guess I missed Legion. Legion is another one. Oh yeah, I was just talking about Harley Quinn. The Harley Quinn show. We won't count Lucifer, even though we totally should, but we won't count Lucifer as one of that. Harley Quinn, The Boys, Preacher. Even that's a comic book show, but it's not really a superhero show, but still, okay, look, we'll just stop there for now. Oh, Batwoman. Yeah, how did I miss Batwoman? Batwoman, thank you guys in the live chat. Batwoman. That's right. The one we try to always forget. Also, Inhumans. Oh, Constantine. Holy shit. Look at somebody's saying in the live chat Heroes. That's too old, but more recently, Rob, there was Heroes Reborn. They came out with Heroes Reborn. So just in the last couple of years, what do we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. There's almost 40. 40, we're not even talking movies, guys. We're not even talking movies. We're not even including the movies. And we're not even talking about all the upcoming stuff. We're not even talking about the upcoming, Green Lantern project. We're not even talking about the upcoming Static Shock project. We're not even talking about Moon Knight or She-Hulk or that's just in the last couple of years alone. We have had 40 about comic book superhero shows. So before we jump up and down all over what Emily Blunt is saying when she says, look, we've been inundated. It's exhausted right now. It's oversaturated. Before we start jumping up and down all over Emily Blunt for saying it, let's be secure enough in our fandom to actually take a step back and say, what the actual F? Look at this. This is just from the last couple of years. Can we be secure enough in our fandom to step back and say, you know what? She's right. We have crossed a threshold where we are now oversaturated with this stuff. Now, Rob, again, that does not mean that comic book fatigue is now here, but you start getting dangerously close to fatigue once you hit a point of saturation. Because, Rob, I'll tell you what, one of the things in watching Jupiter's Legacy that I've never felt this before in watching a piece of comic book material, but I'm like, another one? Like, as I'm watching the show, not before it came out, but as I'm watching, I'm like, aren't there like 5 other shows doing kind of this thing and kind of that thing and whatever. Again, that doesn't mean things are bad. I've been eating up these shows. I love these shows. I'm still eating it up. I have not grown fatigued to them. I don't think the general audience is. I don't think Emily Blunt is saying they have. But Rob, when you look down a list like this, and I'm sure there's still more that we've missed, does she not have a point in saying, man, Hollywood has seen that this is the dominant thing and everybody is jumping on now? And is it not fair to say that maybe we've hit a point of oversaturation? I don't know, Rob, how do you interpret all this?
Well, look, I think she's not wrong because there's a perception that superhero shows are one note. I think, especially amongst people that don't watch them or aren't fans of them. And because, you think superheroes, you think the same thing. You don't think people that aren't necessarily familiar with comics as subject matter. They're only thinking like, well, there's Superman, there's Batman, there's Wonder Woman, there's the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, and Tony Stark. And Captain America. And they don't understand that the comic book medium is just a storytelling device, the same way that cop shows are, or medical shows are, or lawyer shows are. Nobody ever sits there and says, wow, there's just too many procedurals on. Dick Wolf's made too many of the same kinds of shows. No, they work because they're a framework with which to put whatever story you want into that framework. And the great thing about superhero shows is they're fantasy, they're horror, they're science fiction. They cross over those imaginative genres. And if you're not somebody who's savvy about those things, it's easy to point fingers and go, enough superhero movies. But really, again, superheroes are a storytelling medium for any kind of a story you want to tell. And I think the list you just put together shows that that's true. Swamp Thing is a very different show from The Titans, which is a very different show from The Boys. So The Boys, which is a satire, a political satire. So I think that it's easy to say that. And I think actors, especially, they might wonder, well, what do I have to offer this genre? What can we possibly do that hasn't been done before? And I think that's a legitimate concern.
And I think, you and I have talked a lot over the years, Rob, about the key to the longevity moving forward from where we are now with the superhero genre is they got to keep pushing as far as genre blending. They have to go into new territory. And so when The Boys came out, it was very fresh and very different. I think WandaVision has been like a new direction. They really incorporated the mystery and all that kind of, it was a very different, superhero show with no action scenes until the very last episode about a girl just dealing with her grief. That's very different. And that's the challenge moving forward. But when you start getting, I see people in the live chat saying the same things I have said before, because Rob, 5 years ago, when I keep hearing people saying, we're oversaturated with superhero things, I say, well, wait a minute, how many cop shows have there been? How many legal dramas? But Rob, even today, I can't point to 40 cop shows in the past 4 years. I can't point to 40 of them.
Right. Well, that's true.
I can't point to, by the way, somebody else brought up Pennyworth. Totally forgot Pennyworth.
There you go.
So there's number 40, and there's probably more that we're missing. I can't point to 40 of them. And not all of them, as you so astutely pointed out, Rob, not all of them are pushing new territory and covering new ground, and it starts to become a little bit oversaturated. And my fear is, I think if a Jupiter's Legacy came out 5 years ago, I think people may have been more excited about it. But today it's like, oh, it's the next new superhero show. Okay. And again, I am not saying, and I don't think what Emily Blunt is saying is that we have reached comic book fatigue. I don't believe that yet. I don't think we're there yet. But I do think she has a point when she's talking about maybe oversaturation. But Rob, let's talk about the other aspect of this for a second. She seems to have just quashed a lot of people's dreams about her and Krasinski playing Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman.
Certainly mine, John.
And I think certainly a lot of people. What do you think about her comments on that? Saying, "Look, that's just fan casting. I've received no phone calls. You and I believe that the Fantastic Four is already cast. Like, you and I believe that. I think that's pretty safe to say at this point that they have already cast it. No matter what they say in their PR moving forward, I believe they already have locked up who their Fantastic Four is." And Emily Blunt was saying, "Look, we haven't even actually had conversations. There's been no phone call. We're not it. It's just fan casting." That's a huge deal. Rob, what was your reaction when you read about her saying that, denying that she's going to be in a Fantastic Four project?
Well, those NDAs are a bitch. I just don't. I don't believe when it comes to genre material now, because the very conversation that we're having now, John, proves that you can't let any whiff of something like this drop. You've got to deny until it's either confirmed or it's completely, until there's new casting. So I don't necessarily think she's telling the truth, but I have no reason to believe she's lying either. So again, until it's reported in the trades, either Deadline, Variety, or the Hollywood Reporter, I don't believe anything.
All right, so let's play a little game of over-under here for you. So Emily Blunt is denying that she's going to be in it, while also throwing in there superhero stuff isn't just for me. I don't like it. We're over inundated, blah, blah, blah. So if she's putting on an act to cover up that she's in it, she's going the whole 9 yards on this. But let's say 17%. 17%. Over or under 17% that we see Emily Blunt as Sue Storm. I'm going to take under 17%. Rob, what about you?
You know what? Just because I want to believe the way Fox Mulder did, I'll take over.
You're going to take the over. Now,
yeah.
24 hours ago, I would have taken over 58%. I would have taken over that. Now I'm going under 17. You're taking over 17. Question is for you guys. There's a lot to unpack there with the whole Emily Blunt thing, talking about being over inundated with superhero television programs, her denial of being in Fantastic Four for Marvel. A lot of stuff to unpack here. You guys probably have a lot of different thoughts. What are you guys thinking about it? Jump on down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts.